use it, when to use it, why to use it. Great question. Any more questions on that?
Ron, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
A lot of people are doing this, and I want to know what your thought is. Is it talk about the ball picking up oil and oil shine? They'll leave it in their car on a hot day and can let it sweat. I don't think it's a good idea, but I want you to tell them what or put it in the oven.
Or in the in the sink with hot water.
Oh, this is a great question. Okay, so the question essentially boils down to how does heat affect the bowling ball, right? That's what he's asking, essentially. So I can tell you two things. One, I have a patent. I studied this. I studied heat and bowling balls so much I have a patent on the product regarding heat and bowling balls. What I can tell you is this: one of the first projects that I worked on when I hired in at Ebonite was we made this clear ball called an Optics. You may remember that ball.
I remember.
Optics. So this is a great story. So when we started making those bowling balls, the bowling balls were not coming out hard enough. So they said, well, that's not good. The ball's not hard enough, so we can't launch as a product. How do we get them hard? So the gentleman says, well, what we should do is we should bake them. If we bake them, they'll raise in hardness. So okay, cool. So what do we have to do? So we did a lot of testing, figuring out the temperature, figuring out the time frame, and figuring out how we're going to do this. And when it was all said and done, what ended up happening was we set at about 125 degrees. If you put the bowling ball in an oven, and we literally had this gigantic oven. I mean, it was like 10 feet tall and super deep, and we had the bowling balls on a cart, and we wheeled them in every 2 hours. So we wheeled them in and wheeled them out every 2 hours. And what we found out was a couple of things. One, the balls did get to hardness, so that was good. That was the goal, that was the process, that was the point. Two, some of the balls cracked. That sucks, because we just made a bunch of garbage. But not all of them, but some of them did. Okay? And three, and this was the most important thing, three, we lost between 5 and 7 boards of hook, which ultimately killed that ball from a sales standpoint. The ball looked phenomenal. It was very, very different, but it didn't hook. And nobody understood why it didn't hook, because we weren't going to tell you that we baked them, but we baked them. That's why it didn't hook. So long story short, here is what happens with heat. This is kind of the best way to describe it that I've come up with so far. Heating a bowling ball is a lot like chemotherapy. It kills the bad stuff. Like chemotherapy, it kills the cancer, right? But it also kills some of the good stuff, right? And too much of it will kill you, right? That's the same way that heat and bowling balls work. So what happens is a reactive bowling ball is essentially 3 components. This is chemistry, but it's essentially a polyol side, an isocyanate side, and a plasticizer, which basically means when it's all said and done, you have a porous sponge. And because it's porous, why it absorbs oil. When you heat that up, what you do is you help the ball to pull out part of the liquid, the plasticizer that's in the ball, it comes out. If all of the plasticizer comes out of the bowling ball, one is urethane, pure old school like urethane, but 2, it's super brittle. And that's why the balls can crack. And we can show you time and time again where if you put the bowling balls in and get them hot enough, long enough to crack.
I got them look like a prune.
And
because all the stuff came out,
and then it shrinks. Right, because what happens is the plastic, the polymer, essentially when it's formed, it's tight, and then because the liquid is off gassing, right? It's boiling, essentially boiling out of the cover stock. And when it's boiling out of the cover stock, that expands it. And then over time, it cools down and it shrinks a little bit. Now, what you don't realize is even over years and years and years, that ball is continuing to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's why you see bowling balls that you have sitting in your garage, they just crack one day, right? You come out there, I saw on Facebook today, guys like, rest in peace, ball number, serial number 775864. You've done a good job, have a great life. Because this ball cracked, and you didn't understand why. But a lot of times it's related to that phenomenon of the ball continuing to cure and it cracks. So to answer the question, Mike, you can put your bowling ball in a reviver. You can. You can't put your bowling ball in a detox. You can't put your bowling ball in. Don't put it in your oven at home. That's nasty.
Yeah, my wife got pissed off.
Yeah, don't do that. That's nasty.
A new oven.
Yeah, she's right. Don't do that ever again. You can put your bowling ball in hot water. Okay, but just be cautious of what you're doing. you are going to extract out oil, which is what you're trying to get out. You're also going to extract out plasticizer, which you don't necessarily want to get out, because that is the liquid that keeps that cover stock from getting dry and brittle. And the best way to think of it is like it's a sponge. If I had a sponge right here, then the water would move toward the center, but it'd be pliable, right? But if I let that sponge sit out for 5 or 6 days, and I came back to it, and I went to go touch it, what would happen? It'd be rock hard, right? And if I went to try to push my finger into it and try to bend it, it'd break, right? That's what's happening to your bowling ball. That's why bowling balls, that's one of the reasons bowling balls crack. Side note, and I'll answer your question. Side note, don't leave a bowling ball on wood. Some people want to put their bowling balls on wooden racks. Don't do that. Because wood is absorbent. And it will absorb the plasticizer out of that area. So if it absorbs the plasticizer out of that area, then guess what? The ball's more prone to crack.
That's the same thing with cardboard box, leaving it in a cardboard box.
So leaving it,
Wood
so,
as well.
so I'll tell you the best thing, the best, cheapest thing you can possibly do is just put it back in the plastic bag that came in. Just put it back in a plastic bag.